Welcome, esteemed listeners, to our enthralling Hercule Poirot audiobook series, where the Belgian maestro's unparalleled little grey cells dismantle the most cunning crimes. Today, we immerse ourselves in Hercule Poirot's Killer Lord Edgware plot, a riveting saga of London high society, tyrannical secrets, and a murder that defies all expectations. Picture the scene. Amid the dazzling lights of a West End theatre, Poirot is drawn into the orbit of glamorous actress Jane Wilkinson, desperate to divorce her cruel husband, Lord Edgware. As he agrees to mediate, a chilling, blood-smeared message arrives, foretelling doom. With a cast of suspects including a resentful daughter, a secretive aide, and a mysterious American, Poirot uncovers layers of betrayal and hidden vendettas. But when Edgware is found stabbed in his locked study, the jaw-dropping twist exposes a killer's masterful scheme. Strap in. The revelations will keep you on the edge of your seat. Chapter 1. The Enigmatic Invitation. The theatres of London's West End pulsed with life under the evening's velvet sky, gas lamps casting a golden haze over the bustling crowd spilling from carriage doors and onto the cobblestones. Laughter mingled with the clip-clop of horses' hooves, and the air carried the faint perfume of cigar smoke and blooming night jasmine from nearby gardens. Hercule Poirot, impeccably dressed in a tailored evening suit that accentuated his compact frame, emerged from the St. James Theatre with Captain Arthur Hastings at his side. The performance had been a triumph, a witty comedy of manners that had the audience roaring, but Poirot's mind lingered on the leading lady, Jane Wilkinson, whose radiant presence had commanded the stage like a queen her court. "Hastings, mon ami," Poirot said, adjusting his patent leather shoes with a satisfied tap. "That Mademoiselle Wilkinson, she is a force. Non. Her timing, her expressions, perfection." Hastings chuckled, his moustache twitching. "Indeed, Poirot. American fire with English polish. But did you catch her glance our way during the curtain call? Almost as if she knew you." Poirot's green eyes sparkled. "Knew me? Perhaps. Fame travels, even for a humble detective." Their post-theatre stroll led them to a nearby supper club, a haven of crystal chandeliers and plush red booths where the elite gathered to dissect the night's entertainment over champagne and oysters. As they settled into a corner table, the room buzzed with animated chatter, actresses fluttering fans, producers gesturing with cigars. A waiter approached with flutes bubbling like whispered secrets, but before Poirot could savour his first sip, a vision in emerald silk glided toward them. Jane Wilkinson herself, her golden hair cascading in waves, her smile a beacon that turned heads like sunflowers to the light. "Monsieur Poirot," she exclaimed, her American accent a melodic drawl that cut through the din. "I spotted you in the box. What an honor. And this must be Captain Hastings. May I join you? The night's too young for solitude." Poirot rose, bowing with continental flair. "Mademoiselle, the honor is ours. Your performance, exquisite. You embody the role as if it were your own skin." Jane laughed, a sound like crystal chiming, and slid into the booth, her perfume a heady mix of vanilla and intrigue. As champagne flowed, conversation sparkled. Jane's tales of Hollywood dreams, Poirot's anecdotes from Parisian salons, but her eyes held a shadow, a flicker that Poirot's keen gaze caught like a flaw in a diamond. "Mademoiselle," he ventured, "you shine on stage, but off, is there a cloud?" Jane's smile faltered, her fingers tracing the stem of her glass. "Perceptive, as they say. It's my husband, Lord Edgware, a tyrant in tweed. I want a divorce, but he refuses. Says it'll tarnish his name. I've begged, but he's stone. Hastings leaned in. Divorce. Tricky business. Any leverage. Jane's voice dropped to a confidential hush. Leverage. Perhaps. He's got secrets. Shadowy dealings. Whispers of plots to silence rivals. But I need help. A detective's touch. Poirot's moustache quivered. Help. Poirot does not meddle in matrimony. But her plea was earnest, her eyes pools of desperation. Just meet him, reason with him, please. Intrigued, Poirot agreed. Tomorrow then, at his mansion. The Edgware mansion loomed on the outskirts of London, like a fortress of privilege, its Georgian facade imposing under a sky heavy with unshed rain. Poirot and Hastings arrived by taxi, the gravel drive crunching like bones under wheels. A butler, with a face like carved marble, ushered them into a library lined with leather-bound volumes that smelled of old money and faint tobacco. Lord Edgware awaited, a man of sharp angles, hawkish nose, piercing eyes, his suit tailored to intimidate. Poirot, the Belgian sleuth, and Hastings. To what do I owe this intrusion? Poirot bowed slightly. Milord, a matter delicate. Your wife seeks divorce. Edgware's laugh was bark-like. Jane, that actress, she can seek all she wants. I refuse. Tension simmered as the household filtered in. Ronald Marsh, the aloof secretary, his ledger a constant shadow. Carlotta Adams, the resentful daughter, her gaze daggers at her father, and Donald Ross, a mysterious American visitor, his accent thick with transatlantic charm, his hands fidgeting with a cigar case. Conversation crackled like a fire kindling. Edgware's tyrannical rants on society, Carlotta's bitter asides about inheritance snubs, Ronald's evasive comments on business dealings, Donald's tales of overseas ventures. Poirot observed, his little grey cells whirring. Milord, enemies. Your position invites them. Edgware shrugged. Enemies, plenty, but I crush them. As night fell, curtains drawn against the gathering dusk, a chilling message arrived via the butler, her envelope smeared with what appeared to be blood, words scrawled. Your end approaches. Peril in your own house. Carlotta gasped. Ronald paled. Donald's cigar dropped. Edgware snatched it. Blood? Nonsense. But Poirot examined, his gloved fingers careful. Not blood, ink cleverly disguised, viscous to mimic, a ploy to terrify. Hastings frowned. Who delivered? The butler shook his head. Left at the door, anonymous. The assembly agitated, accusations flying. Carlotta blaming Ronald's shady ledgers. Ronald pointing to Donald's foreign intrigues. Donald retorting with Carlotta's resentful glares. Poirot imposed order, his voice a calm anchor. Panic serves the sender. Let us analyze the ink's scent, faint chemical, from a theatre supply, and the paper, fine stock, like your stationery, milord. Edgware blustered. Mine? Impossible. But a search of the desk revealed a matching sheet. A household hand, Poirot concluded. He established a preliminary guard, Hastings at the door, the butler patrolling halls, calming the group. Security for tonight. Sleep if you can. A momentary bastion formed, tensions tempered, alliances tentatively eyed. Hastings whispered to Poirot, You've steadied them. The detective gazed at the rain-lashed windows. Steadied, yes, but the plot's threads weave, killer intent beckoning us deeper. The mansion settled into uneasy quiet, rain pattering like fingers on glass. Poirot's watch began. The chapter's threats bridged, dynamic intrigues whispering toward shadows of betrayal. Chapter 2. Shadows of betrayal. Morning light sliced through the heavy velvet curtains of Lord Edgware's mansion like a surgeon's scalpel, exposing the opulent room's hidden flaws. dust motes swirling in the beams, faded patches on the Persian rugs where generations had paced in worry or wrath. The air carried the faint aroma of polished oak and lingering cigar smoke, a testament to the Lord's nocturnal habits. Hercule Poirot, having spent a fitful night in a guest suite that felt more like a gilded cage, rose early, his routine a ritual of precision. A splash of cold water to sharpen the senses, a meticulous comb through his moustache, and a breakfast of café au lait with toast that the butler delivered with mechanical efficiency. Captain Arthur Hastings joined him in the morning room, his newspaper unfurled but unread, his face a map of concern. Poirot, that bloody note last night, chilling stuff. Edgware's as calm as a pond, but I sense storms brewing. Poirot sipped his coffee, his green eyes reflecting the light like polished emeralds. Storms, Hastings. They gather in the shadows of betrayal. We interrogate today. The inner circle holds the key to this plot. Their plan was methodical. Summon each member to the library, where the leather-bound volumes stood sentinel, their spines a silent jury. The mansion awoke slowly, servants gliding like ghosts through halls, adorned with portraits of stern ancestors whose eyes followed every move. First came Carlotta Adams, Lord Edgware's daughter, a young woman with raven hair pinned in a severe chignon, her dress a somber grey that matched her mood. She perched on the edge of a chair, her hands folded like a schoolgirl's. Father's stubbornness is legendary, she confessed, her voice a controlled tremor. He denies me my inheritance, says I'm frivolous, but it's his control that chokes us all. Poirot leaned forward. Control over fortunes and fates. Resentments run deep, mademoiselle. Carlotta's eyes flashed. Deep, like the Thames at midnight. He's crushed rivals, silenced scandals. But murder, I'd rather outlive him. Their exchange deepened as Ronald Marsh, the aloof secretary, entered. A tall man with wire-rimmed glasses and a ledger under his arm like a shield. Milord's affairs are complex, he evaded, his voice smooth as oiled silk. Investments, estates, rival tycoons circle like sharks. Hastings interjected. Sharks with teeth, any alliances? Ronald's glance darted like a minnow. Alliances. Perhaps with Carstairs, a competitor. But details are confidential. Poirot's moustache quivered. Confidential or concealed. Your evasive glances hint at hidden pacts. As the morning progressed, Donald Ross, the mysterious American visitor, sauntered in, his accent thick as molasses, his cigar case a constant fidget. Edgware's a hard nut. Business deals with my firm in New York, but he's got enemies sharper than his wit. Their tales interwove. Carlotta's hushed resentments over denied freedoms, Ronald's evasive hints at financial manipulations, Donald's stories of transatlantic rivalries. The library's atmosphere thickened like gathering storm clouds, the grandfather clock ticking like a heartbeat accelerating. Tensions mounted when a deadly note was discovered in the study, slipped under the door while they conferred, stained with crimson that dripped like fresh wounds. Your conquests return. Curse upon your house, it read. Carlotta gasped. Ronald paled. Donald's cigar dropped ash like fallout. Edgware, summoned, snatched it. Curse, from my past, women scorned, deal soured. Poirot examined, his gloved fingers careful. Crimson, blood? No, but ink mixed with dye to mimic, a forgery planted to escalate fears. Hastings frowned. Planted by whom? Poirot's eyes scanned the group. By one among us, or an intruder. But the paper, fine vellum from your desk, my lord. Edgware blustered. Mine, impossible. but a search revealed a matching sheet in Ronald's ledger. "You," Carlotta accused. Ronald protested. "Framed. I draft contracts, not curses." The American interjected. "Curses from Edgware's conquests. He's bragged of dalliances, actresses, heiresses." Poirot imposed order, his voice a calm harbor in the storm. "Fear serves the forger. Let us trace the dye's scent, faint theatrical, from a costume shop." Their investigation led to the mansion's attic, a dusty realm of trunks and cobwebs where lanterns pierced the gloom like accusations. A box of theatrical props yielded red dye used for stage blood. "From my charity galas," Carlotta admitted. But Poirot's lantern revealed fresh footprints in the dust, leading to a hidden panel. Behind it, a cache of letters, stained with similar crimson, detailing Edgware's scandals. "Blackmail," Hastings breathed. Poirot nodded. "But planted here, to implicate whom?" The footprints matched Donald's boots, rough from American trails. "You!" Edgware roared. Donald's cigar trembled. "Planted. I explore attics for inspiration. Old houses inspire my investments." Poirot's eyes sharpened. "Inspiration or infiltration? Your alliances with rivals?" The chapter peaked with a confrontation in the library, accusations flying like sparks from a forge. Carlotta blaming Ronald's shady books, Ronald pointing to Donald's foreign schemes, Donald retorting with Carlotta's bitter stares. Poirot's calm pierced the chaos. Allies in deceit, but the dye's badge traced to a shop near Carstairs' office. A telegram to the shop confirmed, sold to an American-accented man. "You, Mr. Ross." Donald deflated. "Yes, I bought for a prank, but the note, not me." Poirot conceded after checking alibis. Donald out during the delivery. Cleared, for now. A brief alliance of trust formed, the group sharing lunch in the dining room, laughter tentative but genuine. Hastings marveled. "You've bridged the chasms, Poirot." The detective gazed at the rain-lashed windows. "Bridged, yes, but betrayal's whispers echo, a plot deepening." The mansion settled into uneasy quiet, rain pattering like fingers on glass. Poirot's inquiry deepened, the chapter's shadows bridged, dynamic deceptions whispering toward fatal facades. Chapter 3. The deadly derailment. The train plunged through the enveloping night like a steel arrow loosed from a bow, its headlamp slicing the darkness in fleeting revelations of hedgerows and distant farm lights twinkling like fallen stars. The corridors swayed with a hypnotic grace, brass fittings gleaming under dim bulbs that flickered like uncertain memories. Miss Jane Marple had claimed a secluded bench in the observation car, her shawl a makeshift cocoon against the chill drafts whispering through the seals. Lucy Aylesbarrow dozed fitfully beside her, her head against the window, notebook slipping from her lap as the rhythm of the rails lulled her. The night's whispers had etched deep lines of vigilance on Miss Marple's face, her mind a labyrinth of connections, alliances frayed like overworked threads, relics glinting with malice, a killer's shadow lengthening with every mile. A subtle jolt roused Lucy, her eyes snapping open to the inky void outside. "Aunt Jane, you haven't slept. The guard's rounds are due. Perhaps we should retire." Miss Marple's gaze remained fixed on the flashing landscape. "Retire? When peril accelerates? No, dear. We must orchestrate a reconstruction, turn the train's motion into our ally." Their strategy was daring. Summon the suspects to the baggage car under pretext of inventorying Thorne's effects, where confined space and the rumbles of wheels could shake loose guarded truce. The invitations were discreet, notes passed via the night porter, a lanky youth with eyes wide as saucers, requesting an urgent assembly for safety. They arrived in the baggage car, a dim hold of stacked valises and crates swaying with the train's gait, the air thick with leather and dust, undercut by a faint, exotic musk from hidden compartments. Elias Crowe, the conductor, entered first, his lantern swinging like a censer in a ritual. Lady Vanessa Hargrove followed, her silk robe a whisper of luxury amid the grime. Raoul Duval last, his sketchbook a constant shadow, charcoal dust on his cuffs like remnants of erased alibis. The guard bolted the door, his presence a silent sentinel. Miss Marple's lantern pierced the gloom, illuminating faces carved with fatigue and weariness. We reconstruct not just movements, but motives. Let the rails shake loose the veils. Their dialogue kindled gradually, like a fuse in damp air. Crowe set his lantern down. Motives. This run's full of them. War dispatches turned to smuggling holds. Hargrove's robe slipped slightly. Smuggling. Like Thorne's trinkets, he undercut me on that Cairo bid, claimed the lot. Those artifacts, files with essences, blades with incantations, fatal if tampered. Duval's book opened, his pencil gliding. Tampered. Thorne lured me with a catalogue commission, then scorned my vision as archaic scratches. The pacts began to sour, words seeping like acid from a leaky seal. Miss Marple navigated with gentle prompts. Scorn breeds bitterness. Lady Hargrove, your dealings with Thorne, tainted by those trinkets. Vanessa's saucer rattled as she accepted tea from a thermos. Dealings, a fragile accord. We bid on an Alexandria hoard. But he betrayed me, pocketing the prize. Those relics, scarabs with poisons, daggers graven with hexes, deadly if mishandled. Crowe's pipe remained unlit. Mishandled. I ferried similar in the war, for patrons like Thorne. Alliances then were tenuous, one misstep and ruin. Duval's strokes quickened. Ruin. My studio fell to Thorne's fakes, relics fabricated to flood the market. I vowed reprisal, but through unmasking, not ferocity. The disclosures meshed like gears in a pernicious mechanism. Hargrove's covert vow to recapture the relics through enigmatic agents. Crowe's linkage with a covert railway coalition. Thorne a deserter who embezzled gains. Duval's compact with a competing guardian to debunk Thorne's hoard, his illustrations blueprints for revealing frauds. Miss Marple set her cup down with purposeful resonance. Compacts bind destinies, tainted by covetousness, but let's exhume the foundations. She advocated an exploration of the undercarriage at the forthcoming brief pause, a coaling stop in a picturesque glen, the train idling like a slumbering colossus. They alighted under the guard's watchful scrutiny, the platform a ribbon of timber amid verdant vales resonant with avian melodies. The undercarriage was a grimy labyrinth of pipes and axles, the air dense with oil and rust. Miss Marple's lantern sliced the obscurity, highlighting a loose panel. Forcibly breached, its clasps distorted. Violated, she proclaimed. Within, cradled among satins, rested an elaborate phial, the elixir luminous, a stiletto adjacent, etched with primordial glyphs. Crowe's pipe tumbled, Thorne's trove stashed herein. Lady Hargrove extended toward the phial. This distillate, atropine foundation, mortal in murmurs. Duval's tone honed. You identified, you're compact with him to vend these. Indictments blazed like beacon fires, Crowe imputing Hargrove with embedding them to ensnare him. Hargrove rebutting with Duval's inventive counterfeits as venom conduits. Duval countering with Crowe's conflict-era ingress as the trafficking artery. Tensions ascended as the train hooted recommencement, corralling them back within. In the lounge, the disclosures seethed. Crow conceding to transporting the trove for Thorn, but repudiating modification. Hargrove acknowledging a contaminated oath to subvert his bargains. Duval divulging a scarlet compact with a Gallic craftsman for retribution. We amalgamated transiently, Duval permitted, to dismantle him, but it soured when Thorn imperiled us all. Miss Marple's needles ceased, soured into manslaughter. The stiletto's bane conforms to the vestige on Thorn's laceration, insidious if abraded. The assembly recoiled, compacts disintegrating. The guard progressed. Restrain yourselves. But Miss Marple disclosed a mannequin in the freight, cabled to emulate a skulking contour, its apparatuses connected to the freight hasp. A stratagem to intimidate Thorn into divulgence. Your handiwork, Mr. Duval. He wilted. I facilitated the haunts, furnished the appurtenances for coercion, but the lunge, not mine, I abetted, didn't perpetrate. The constabulary at Exeter would arbitrate, but presently Duval's detention as facilitator assuaged the paranoia, his manacles a termination to the chapter's commotion. Hargrove and Crow traded glances of hesitant concord, verities hemorrhaging like pigment from a fractured stylus. Lucy respired. Pacts reformed in rupture. Miss Marple regarded the illuminating vista, reformed yet blemished. The bane persists, a stroke for the conclusive admission. The tracks bellowed onward, the chapter's fissures mended, dynamic disclosures propelling toward fatal advent. Chapter 4. Bloody entanglements. The oppressive strain of escalating dread hung over Lord Edgware's mansion like a storm cloud pregnant with thunder, the air thick with the scent of beeswax from flickering candles and the faint, acrid tang of fear that no amount of polished silver or Persian rugs could mask. The library, with its towering shelves of leather-bound tomes and a massive hearth where flames danced like restless spirits, served as the stage for Poirot's orchestration. He had convened the core suspects under the pretext of safeguarding the household, but the summons carried an undercurrent of inevitability, like the toll of a distant bell signaling judgment. Captain Arthur Hastings stood by the mantel, his walking stick a prop for his unease, while the others assembled. Carlotta Adams, her raven hair loose in defiance of her usual severity. Ronald Marsh, his ledger abandoned, but his fingers twitching as if longing for its security. Donald Ross, the American, his cigar unlit, his transatlantic bravado tempered into watchful silence, and Lord Edgware himself, enthroned in a high-backed chair, his hawkish features sharpened by the firelight. Poirot positioned himself at the room's center, his compact frame commanding despite its size, his green eyes reflecting the flames like polished gems. Mesdames et messieurs, he began, his voice a velvet blade slicing the tension. We gather not to accuse, but to illuminate. Firelight reveals much, creases in facades, stains on souls. Let us unravel the entanglements that bind you, for they bleed like wounds untended. The room fell into a charged hush, broken only by the crackle of logs and the distant patter of rain against leaded panes. He turned first to Carlotta, her grey dress a shroud in the warm glow. Mademoiselle Adams, your resentments toward your father, deep as the Thamese's currents, but entanglements. Speak of your alliance with Monsieur Carstairs the tycoon. Carlotta's hands clenched in her lap, knuckles white as bone. Alliance, a shared disdain for father's tyranny. Carstairs lost fortunes to his schemes, vowed to reclaim them. Poirot leaned forward. Reclaim through what? Vengeance over a slain relative's legacy, your uncle, perhaps, dispatched in a hunting mishap. Carlotta's eyes flashed. Mishap. Murder, laced with his poisons. We plotted exposure, not harm. The revelations cascaded, alliances souring like wine turned to vinegar. Ronald Marsh interjected, his voice a nervous quiver. Exposure? My covenant with Carstairs was financial. Ledgers cooked to hide Edgware's embezzlements, but fatal. No. Donald Ross's cigar remained unlit, his accent a drawl. Financial? My pact was transatlantic. Edgware promised partnerships, then betrayed. We allied to undermine him. Their confessions interlocked. Carlotta's affair with Carstairs, a passionate entanglement born from shared vendettas. Ronald's bloody covenant to forge documents sealing Edgware's downfall. Donald's role in smuggling evidence across oceans. Poirot's moustache quivered. Covenants bloody with ambition. But let's descend to the cellar, where entanglements hide in darkness. The stairs spiraled down like a descent into the underworld, the air growing cooler, mustier, laced with the earthy scent of stone and forgotten wine. Lanterns bobbed, casting grotesque shadows that writhed across barrels and cobwebbed racks. In a forgotten alcove, shrouded in sacking, stood a grotesque figure, a corpse rigged with wires, its waxen face a caricature of Lord Edgware, limbs articulated to pulleys hidden in the ceiling. Behold the spectre of betrayal, Poirot declared, tugging a wire. The dummy lurched to life, arms flailing in macabre mimicry of hauntings, a hidden mechanism whispering threats from a concealed horn. Carlotta recoiled. From the theatre, props for galas, Ronald pointed. You rigged it to terrorize father into confession. Under Poirot's gaze, Carlotta crumbled. Yes, I enabled the haunts, supplied the wires for leverage, but the threats, not me, I abetted, didn't execute. The guard, alerted by Hastings, stepped forward. Enabling's crime enough. Handcuffs clicked, Carlotta's wrists bound as confessions poured, the alliances fractured, each role in the web exposed. We saw justice, she murmured, but it twisted into this. Upstairs, the library exhaled as she was led away, the rain easing to a drizzle that pattered like applause. Illusions fractured like sun-baked clay. Ronald embraced Donald in shared remorse, their pact dissolved. Carlotta's removal quelled the paranoia, forging uneasy bonds as truths bled like ink from a broken pen. Hastings marveled. Alliances mended Poirot. The detective regarded the flames, mended but scarred. The blood lingers, a stroke for the final reckoning. The mansion settled into uneasy quiet, rain pattering like fingers on glass. Poirot's inquiry deepened, the chapter's entanglements bridged, dynamic revelations propelling toward the plot's reckoning. Chapter 5. The plot's reckoning. The opulent study of Lord Edgware's mansion stood bathed in the soft glow of dawn's first light, filtering through heavy damask curtains in shafts that pierced the room like arrows of truth. The air was thick with the scent of aged leather from the bookshelves and the faint, acrid residue of extinguished cigars, a remnant of the night's tense vigils. Hercule Poirot had chosen this space deliberately, a chamber where secrets had been inked and sealed, now to become the arena for their unraveling. The walls, lined with portraits of stern forebears whose eyes seemed to judge from their gilded frames, added a weight of legacy to the proceedings. Captain Arthur Hastings paced by the window, his walking stick tapping a restless rhythm on the parquet floor, while the survivors assembled. Carlotta Adams, her raven hair unbound in waves of defiance. Ronald Marsh, ledger clutched like a shield. Donald Ross, his unlit cigar a prop for his jittery hands. And Lord Edgware himself, seated at his massive oak desk, his hawkish features etched with a mix of arrogance and apprehension. Poirot positioned himself at the room's heart, his compact frame a focal point amid the grandeur, his green eyes reflecting the dawn like polished jade. "Mes amis," he intoned, his voice a silken thread drawing them in. "We reach the reckoning, the dawn where shadows flee and plots dissolve. No more veils, only the clear light of resolution." They settled into chairs arranged in a semicircle, the fire in the hearth crackling softly, its warmth a mocking contrast to the chill of impending exposure. The rain had ceased, leaving the world outside washed clean, birdsong filtering through like a chorus heralding judgment. He began with the enigmatic invitation, that theatrical summons drawing him into the web. It was no mere request, but a lure, crafted to ensnare a witness of repute amid the chaos. Carlotta leaned forward, her voice a sharp whisper. "Lure, by whom?" Poirot's moustache quivered. "By one who foresaw the storm, using it as camouflage." He transitioned to the shadows of betrayal, his gestures painting the air. Greed and vengeance entwined like roots beneath this manor. Lord Edgware's dominion over fortunes and fates, your uncle's mishap, Mademoiselle Carlotta, not accident, but orchestrated demise. Ronald's ledger slipped slightly. Orchestrated. Proof? Poirot produced an overlooked brooch from his pocket, a delicate silver piece, its pin bent, engraved with blood-red initials. J.W. This, found snagged in the study's carpet after the note's delivery, Jane Wilkinson's. None. The script matches your handwriting, milord, a memento from a scorned conquest. Edgware's eyes narrowed. Preposterous. That's from years ago. Poirot's smile was faint. Years. But the engraving fresh, the red enamel chipped recently, a token of poisoned packs. The assembly stirred, murmurs rising like steam from tea. Hastings gasped. Edgware himself. Poirot nodded. Observe the mosaic, the divorce plea, a facade to provoke exposure, the bloody notes, self-inflicted to simulate threat, diverting from your own machinations. Donald's cigar dropped. Machinations? For what? Poirot paced, his steps measured. For a legacy untainted. Your enemies, milord, not external, but sown within. Carlotta's inheritance claims, Ronald's embezzlements, Donald's transatlantic suits. You plotted their downfall, but the web ensnared you. Edgware rose, his chair scraping like a drawn blade. Lies. You weave fantasies. But Poirot's logic pressed on, relentless as the tide. Fantasies. The theatre dive for blood. Sourced from Carlotta's galas, but applied by your hand. The invitations, a summons to witnesses for your peril, but the true plot, eliminate rivals under cover of curse. Carlotta's hand flew to her mouth. Father, the uncle's death, your doing. Edgware's facade held, but his knuckles whitened on the desk. Proof, Belgian, your grey cells spin yarns. Poirot unveiled a sheaf of papers, telegrams from Paris, procured overnight via Hastings connections. Witness accounts from your conquests, a pattern of silent scandals, poisons disguised as maladies, and this. He produced a vial from his case, its contents swirling ominously. From your desk drawer, belladonna, matching the uncle's toxicology. The room erupted in gasps, Ronald surging forward. You framed us. Donald's voice thundered. Transatlantic revenge. You sabotaged my deals. Edgware's mask cracked, his voice a hoarse torrent. Deals. You all gnawed at my empire. Carlotta's demands, Ronald's thefts, Donald's lawsuits. The plot was mine, to purge you under curse, inherit clean. The notes, self-sent to build dread, the haunts rigged to drive you mad. Confessions cascaded, a deluge unstemmed. The alliances he poisoned to isolate foes, the dummy spectres to erode sanity, the threats to mask his strikes. Driven by fatal dominion, control curdled into murder, legacies demanding blood. The police arrived then, summoned by Hastings' discreet wire, boots echoing in the hall like fate's march. Lord Edgware, you're under arrest for homicide, forgery, and attempted murder. Handcuffs gleamed, clicking with finality around his wrists. He cast a last defiant glance at the group. Carlotta's tear-streaked face, Ronald's stunned silence, Donald's grim nod before being led away, his footsteps fading like a retreating storm. In the ensuing quiet, relief bloomed like dawn's full light. Carlotta embraced Ronald. Pacts broken, but perhaps reforged in truth. The secretary clasped her hand, ledger forgotten. A new chapter, without curses. Donald lit his cigar at last. Transatlantic justice served. Hastings clapped Poirot's shoulder. Masterful old chap. The detective adjusted his tie, gazing at the brightening sky. Masterful. Merely order restored. No enigmas linger. The plot sealed. They lingered in the study as servants brought breakfast. Fresh croissants, steaming coffee, a ritual of renewal. Conversations turned from peril to plans. Carlotta's inheritance reclaimed. Ronald's ledgers balanced honestly. Donald's deals revived. The inspector shook Poirot's hand. Your insight, sir. Legendary. He smiled modestly. Insight. Human nature's patterns, Inspector. Vigilance unravels them. As the group dispersed into the sunlit gardens, the mansion's halls echoing with lighter steps, Poirot and Hastings strolled the grounds, the world awakening around them. A tragic plot, Poirot, Hastings reflected, Dominion's fatal twist. The detective nodded, eyes on the horizon. Twist, yes, but resolved. The reckoning complete, peace earned. The mansion basked in morning light, shadows banished. Poirot's case closed, the chapter's reckonings bridged, the narrative sealed in triumph.